All right, so now that we talked about group by and we saw that group by can be used for summarizing data, we are going to push forward and talk about even more advanced data summarization capabilities pandas offer. One of those capabilities is known as pivot table, and the other one is cross-tab. In this video, I'm going to cover cross-tab. Let me look at a data frame that we have. It's a very simple data frame. It's almost too simple, but it is going to make our life a lot easier to understand what is happening with crosstab and pivot table. All right. I'm going to start with let's start with crosstab. pd.crosstab. One of the differences that you are going to notice is that I'm using crosstab as a function of pandas. It's not df.crosstab, it's pd.crosstab. All right. And if I put a question mark here, quite frankly, nobody remembers all of these by heart. So I'm going to go back and forth between this and what I'm going to write. Let's start with something very simple. So pd.crosstab. It says I need to give index. I'm going to say index is equal to df.year, all right? df.year, that one, and comma columns equal to df dot. I'm going to write, let's say, let's go with sex. All right, sex. There we go. This one. All right. Let's start with this and see what we are going to get. It is going to put year in index. You see that, and it is going to put sex in columns, right? And it says, and indeed inside the table I have a count. There is a record of one female in year 2017, one male in year 2017, no female in 2018, three male in 2018, and so on and so forth. All right. Now that is a really nice summarization. Now let's see what else we have. But before moving forward, this is also possible, but I personally don't like it, and I know a lot of people would not appreciate this. Doing this, right? You are removing index and columns. Don't do it. Don't do it. It makes it a lot more difficult because there's so much information here that you want to be as clear as possible. So I'm going to press Control Z. There we go. Now this is the most basic cross tab you can have. It doesn't get simpler than this. Let's see what else can we add. We can add to this. It says you can give row names and column names. Let's add that. I'm going to say row names equal to, I'm going to just give one inside that list. Row name is year, and I'm going to put it in capital letters to separate with what we have right now. And column names equal to, this time I'm going to use gender. All right. Let's see what the cross tab or this summary table is going to look like. It says, all right, year right here, 2017 to 2022, and gender, male, female, and that's it. All right. We have that. Now, these are optional. You see that it works without these as well. All right. Let's move forward and see what else we can do. We have index, column. We are going to skip values for now. We are going to come back to that. Let's see what else we can do. We can also look at margins. Right now by default it's false. Let's see if we can turn that on. All right, I'm going to say margins equal to true. Margin, this is going to give you sum of rows and columns. Right, there we go. Now by default it uses the name all, and it is sum of rows and sum of columns. Altogether I have 13 observations, and out of those 13 observations, 5 of them are female, 8 of them are male, and 2 in year 2017, 3 in year 2018, and so on and so forth. All right. Now what else can we do with this? Once I have margins, I can also give margin name. Okay, let me change that and let me get rid of this. There we go. It's going to open up space. I can say margin names is equal to, instead of all, I'm going to use totals. right? Totals, that's correct. All right, there we go. I have totals, right? Now, you see, I'm customizing this table the way I like it, right? The way I think is going to be more presentable. We are just exploring options. You can modify the way you like, as long as it looks professional and good. You're fine. All right, we explored margins and margin names. There is something called normalize that is by default it's false, but we can turn that on and make it true and see what happens. Normalize, it is going to divide, it's going to give you a fraction, okay, percentage from the total. Let's get that. I'm going to say, and by the way, the order here doesn't matter. I can put normalize right here, right? It doesn't really matter. I'm going to, let's put it right here, normalize. Let me get rid of this, even though this one also is not going to give me error. Normalize equal to true. Oh, not that true. That is not a true. I want true. All right, comma, and see what we are going to get. See, it says, okay, so 8% of observation or our data, they are female in year 2017. 0%, we have no one and no male in year 2020, but 8% of observation, total observation, is female in year 2020, right? Or 23% male in year 2018. Well, isn't it nicer if we have all of this in percentage as well? This is going to be new to us, and I want you to get used to using this. I'm going to say data. This is new at the end. Once crosstab is over, I want style data format. This is new. All right. Format accepts a string inside quotations, right? Single quotations. And the rest of it is like f string, right? I'm going to put a curly bracket, curly braces. Let's say I want those percentages with one decimal point. I'm going to say, you know what, 0, 1, and by the way, they are percentage, right? Let's start with 2, and then I'm going to ultimately change to 1, all right? And let's run this. Oh, beautiful, look at that, all right? It says 7.69% female year 2017, and so on and so forth. Well, you know, let me change that to 1, make the table a little bit less busy, all right? There we go. And if you want to round it, you can even go down, but this is fine, all right? Now we have this part has nothing to do with crosstab, right? This part has nothing to do with crosstab. What we have explored, index, column, row name, column name, margins, margin names. We have explored all of that, and normalize. Well, let's go back and look at something slightly look at this slightly differently. All right, I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to remove even margin names. It's okay, margin names can stay. Margins, that's fine. Column names, I'm going to remove all of this. Normalize, it's fine. I'm going to remove this as well. Row name, let me make sure, right, margins true, this is fine. All right, so index, let's say I want to have let me see, I want to have year and state in rows, right? Very similar to group by. I'm going to say index is equal to df.year dot comma df dot what did I say, state, right? State, all right? That is my index, and column, you don't have to put it in inside brackets, but I'm going to put it inside brackets as well. It doesn't make much difference. It doesn't, all right? There we go. Now I have on x-axis or on index, I have year and state, and on y or columns, I have sex, male, female. You are getting more granular summarization. You can do that, all right? Now, how about row names and column names? Now you can modify that as well, but you want to make sure that and that matches with what you have in index. Do you have to have just index more than one value? No, you can have columns more than one value as well, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. Let me make this a little bit, let me see, I covered everything here. Let me make this a little bit lighter, all right? I'm going to say df year, it's fine. Let's keep it inside square brackets as a list. That is a list. Let me get rid of margin. It's fine. This is all fine. Now, this is just count. A lot of times I want to have more than just count inside the table, and that's exactly what I have here for values. What values do you want me to show inside the table, inside the summary table? Let's write that. Values, I'm going to have values equal to df data med underscore bill USD. All right, I want that. Let me run this and see. See, with that values right there, I'm going to get error because pandas doesn't know what metric or aggregation of values or that medical bill do you want. Do you want averages there? Do you want minimum? Do you want maximum? What do you want? All right, let me run it. And it's going to say you cannot do this. Values cannot be used without an ag function. Well, I need aggregation function, and it is one of the parameters right here. If you give values, you have to give ag value, ag func as well. So let me put this right here, comma, ag func. What do you want there for every combination of year and year on the rows and sex in columns? What metric of medical bill in US dollar do you want? I'm going to say mean. All right. You see, this is getting more advanced. And there we go. In year 2017, female patients spent $2,000 on a medical bill. Male ones spent $1,200. Average spending of male in year 2018 is in 1900, but there is no female in year 2018. That's why those are missing values. All right. Now, do you have to have just one ag function? No. I'm going to, this is the beauty of it. I can say, you know what, give me mean and give me min or standard deviation or whatever you want to use. All right. And now it's getting a little bit more complicated. So these two columns are for average and these two columns are for minimum. All right. And on index, on rows, I have years. Right. With this small data set, it might get a little bit, you might get a lot of missing values because it's a very small data set. But for larger, more practical, real world data sets, it's going to be a little bit more exciting. All right. Let me see these numbers. Let me go with mean. All right. Let me go with mean ag function, just that. All right. Sometimes that average can give you really large, fractional values. If you want to round that, now this is a good place to use round. I'm going to say round with 1 decimal point and see what you are going to get. All right, there we go. Round with 0. It is going to remove. It is going to remove any fractional part that you have, and we don't have that here, right? Because our data is very, very, these are whole numbers. So this part has nothing to do with crosstab. Let me get rid of this. Let me see. We talked about values, row, column, margins, margin name. Okay, so normalize. Let me go back here. Normalize. Let me bring that back. Normalize equal to true. All right. There we go. And remember, we had a data style dot format accepts a string inside curly braces colon dot 2f percentage. This is what we use, right? If you are going to normalize it, we are going to get the results with 2 decimal points after, and 2 digits after decimal points. There we go. Let me make it even 1. It's easier. 1, right? See, that 3.1% of female in year 2017, that is 3% of the total. All right. Sometimes you don't want the normalized, where is that? This normalized to be just from the total. You can say normalize columns. All right. Let's see what we are going to get. It is going to make sure that this 4.4% is 4% of that column, right? For example, this is interpretation. Year 2021 contributes 20% of observations in year 2021 let me rephrase that. It gets a little bit tricky. For female observations or patients, 2021 contributes 20% of the total, all right, total of females. Or for males, 29.9% of male observations are for year 2019, all right. Now, what else can we do? We can also say normalize equal to index. See, it gets a little bit complicated. Now it will make sure that every row's percentages add to 100%, right? And sure enough, it normalizes every row, and every row's percentages add to 100%. This is the interpretation in year 2017. 62% of observations were female and 37.5% were male. All right, that is the interpretation. This is a little bit easier than it was easier, at least for me, than interpreting it in for a column. But keep this in mind: 62% of what? 62% of average medical bill, right? 62% of average. Why average? Because we asked for mean, and mean of what? Average medical bill. All right. Later on, we are going to see how we can visualize this. So now we are getting this very informative table. Now it might be it's a good time to visualize this, all right? And that is going to come later and after we talk about visualization.